Hello everyone, my name is Trevor Bragg, and today we have a fun topic, and maybe one that Arizonans may not love, but Californians could find informative, and this is my experience moving from California to Arizona, and I'm not just going to only give, my personal experiences, but I want to also break down, what are some of the actual facts and differences of living in California versus living in Arizona, different things like the taxes you could expect, the cost of living, the type of housing you could get, different things like that yes are my experiences, but also facts that I've gained and researched and found to enjoy or not enjoy about living in Arizona compared to living in California. And I'm here to be honest. Obviously, there's things I miss about California, but yet there's things I definitely love about living in Arizona as well. So before I get started, I do have to plug, I have this totally free moving to Phoenix guide. It's everything I wish I knew before I moved to Phoenix, which goes exactly in line with this video. So if you're wanting to move to Phoenix, watch this video, but also if you want that free guide, my email is on the screen. Just email me, I'll get that over to you. Everything I wish I knew before moving to Phoenix. But let's first talk about the kind of elephant in the room that Arizonans seem to hate people from California. And I say hate mostly because this is not a fully true statement. Arizona is a heavily migrated to state, and especially Phoenix in particular, where people are always moving from out of state to live in Phoenix. It's pretty rare that you find someone that's 40 years old that was born and raised in Phoenix. That's an extreme rarity, I would say. I would say over half the people I come into contact with moved from out of state in the last 5 to 10 years, which is fairly common. So people know this, and since they're coming from out of state, a majority, they don't have this crazy pride of ownership where they're not letting anyone else in. But the thing that Arizonans do not like about Californians coming over is a few things. Number one, they think that they are the reason that housing prices have gone up so much, that everyone from California is selling their house for $1 million and buying the same thing here for $700,000. And although that is true to a small extent, that is definitely not what is pushing the needle in our housing market. Sure, there are plenty of people doing that, but it is on a very small scale. But when you look on a greater scale, this is not happening to that extent. Yes, there are the minority that are doing this, but it is not what is bringing our housing market up by 20% in that 1 year in 2021 or 30% in 2020. We did not see those crazy increases because of Californians. So people kind of have this misconception that that's a big reason. And then also the main reason that people really don't like people coming from California is if they're going to bring the reasons they left California with them to Arizona, right? I mean, in my opinion, California has everything you could want in a location. When it comes to weather, I mean, Southern California is literally one of the best weathers you could possibly find in the entire world. It is extremely unique. I think only one other place in the world has weather that is that great, and not to mention all the things to do, all the sports teams, all the different natural things to do, mountains, beaches, hiking, all that great stuff. California has so much to offer. So if you are moving from that to come to, well, a desert, there has to be a reason for it, and most people's reason is going to be something to do with politics, whether it be how high your taxes are. That's a huge con over in California. It's how much you're paying, not only in income tax, but property tax, and then also what you get to see your tax dollars turn into over in California. That is making people leave California. And so when you see that happen, when you see someone leave due to politics, whether it be taxes or whether it be just the overall political environment there, one thing that people can't stand about California is how heavily political it is, whether no matter which side you're on, honestly. And they bring that over to Arizona, vote the exact same way, and then want to make a California 2.0. That is illogical. If you're leaving California for its politics, don't bring them into the state that you are moving to. So that is really the main reason people from Arizona don't like California. It's not like I'm scared to tell people I'm from California. It's not like there's some sort of hit list like here's all the people from California, stay away from them. That is not the case at all. Once you move here, there's really no hate, there's no animosity at all, unless you are trying to make Arizona California 2.0. That is where you will definitely see some pushback. Now, what do I miss about California? And this is an important thing, right? If you're thinking of leaving California, what are some things that you could expect to miss? And well, the easiest one is going to be the beaches. Now, I grew up in Southern California, so obviously having access to the beach was a huge plus. I think that's why it is so expensive there. Everyone loves the beach. And while being able to just make a day trip down to the beach and not have to, fly back or drive drive 6 hours back was a huge plus. We would do that many times over summer and even sometimes in the middle of the school year. And so that's definitely something I miss, just the easy access to it. Yes, I can still go to the beach here in Arizona. I could obviously drive there or fly there. And we do obviously make that a huge priority that we always go to the beach at least once a year. We do like a week-long trip. But those day trips, that is what I'm missing out on. There's definitely no consistency of going to the beach or even just getting to see the beach, right? If you live close enough and can just go drive and eat at a restaurant on a beach, that's definitely something, well, you're not getting that here in Arizona. So that's a huge thing that I would say I'm missing about living in California. The next is the easy access to the mountains. It seems like anywhere you live in Southern California, you have a mountain range right up against where your houses are, usually within an hour, and some very beautiful and expansive mountain ranges. And yes, we do have Flagstaff here in Phoenix, which is about 2 hours north, but again, that's 2 hours away, and it's not nearly as expansive as the Sierra Nevadas that you can get in California. And the amount of things up there, the amount of different ski slopes, the amount of amazing hiking, and just all the amazing natural things that you're getting over in California, things like Yosemite. Well, we just don't have that here in Arizona. Yes, we have the Grand Canyon, but that is a different kind of natural thing. And yes, we love it, but that's about 4 or 5 hours away from Phoenix, so not something that you make a quick trip to. So some of the more natural things I definitely miss in California. And lastly, of course, I do miss the weather in California. Like I said, one of the most unique and best weathers where you're getting between 70 and 80 degrees for about 300 days of the year. You cannot beat that in Southern California. Obviously, Northern California, a different story, but overall, California, most people would say, has much better weather than the Phoenix area, simply because they don't get to 115 degrees over summer. Now, some things that I love about Arizona that is different from California. So some things that I would say are that Arizona wins out in. And number one, you probably guessed it, is the cost of living. I mean, that's what's bringing, I'd say, the majority of people to the Phoenix area, not just from California, but places like Denver, places like Salt Lake City, places like Las Vegas. You can get a nicer house here in Phoenix and have a lower cost of living just about across the board. Just in small things like the gas in your car or your property taxes are much, much lower here in Phoenix than they are in California. And your income tax is going to be lower here in Phoenix. Your utilities are going to be lower. Your groceries are going to be lower. Just about everything is going to be lower. And one huge thing that really is bringing people to Phoenix is that businesses are realizing how much more inexpensive it is to operate in the Phoenix area compared to anywhere in Southern California, especially places like Silicon Valley. It is just so much cheaper just on a taxes scale, but also on the different regulations that California puts on businesses. It's much easier to operate in Phoenix. You don't have as many restrictions that the government is telling you what to do with your business. You can operate a little bit more freely here and pay taxes and have a cheaper building cost. All that stuff is going to encourage businesses to move here. And so even if you're a small business like myself as a realtor, the taxes are going to be much cheaper. It's going to be a lot easier to operate, a lot less regulated. So that is definitely a huge plus I've seen here. And that kind of leads into my next point of that Phoenix has a less controlling government than California. And I think most people realize this, and that's probably a big reason they're moving from California. And it really doesn't matter which side of the aisle you are on. It's pretty obvious that California, they want to be enthralled with politics, and they want their government to be, well, somewhat controlling, somewhat involved in just about every daily aspect of life. I personally don't understand that. I don't care if it was my party or not that's in control of the government. I don't want them telling me or others what to do with just about everything in my life. And so I think that's a big reason people don't want to live in California, is that they hear the amount of restrictions, the amount of regulations, the amount they're being taxed only for that money to go to things that they are not supporting. And so all of that makes Arizona a much less controlling government environment. And to also add on top of that, it's just a less politically hot environment. I've realized people in California, again, both sides, it seems to be that politics is almost like the part of their daily life. Not just people that are, involved in politics, but just normal people. Talking about politics is a very, very common occurrence in California. It's about all they can talk about because of how in your face it is. We're here in Phoenix. Yes, there's political parties. Yes, people have preferences. We are a fairly purple state overall. We were red forever, and then we just voted blue in the last election, and overall we're fairly purple. And I just don't see that conversation happening nearly as much in Phoenix. And I don't know about you. Yes, I care about politics, but I want to talk about it, during election season or when something big is coming up. I don't want to talk about politics every single day, even if it's with people that agree with me. I just don't want to talk about it every day. Whereas in California, it sure seems to be that is a hot topic, and it just doesn't seem to matter as much in Phoenix, which in my opinion is the way that it should be. Another thing I've been surprised with is how much there is to do in Phoenix. And this was a surprise coming from, Southern California. It seems like one of the biggest entertainment capitals of the world, not just in places like Hollywood, but also sports, huge events, obviously the beaches, all the natural things to do. But Phoenix has huge events going on just about year round. I mean, we just had the Waste Management Open. We're about to have spring training. We're going to have the huge March Madness, April actually, when the Final Four are. So we're having all these huge events and sporting events. And while I do enjoy sports, and we're having these huge events constantly throughout the year. And obviously huge concerts, those are also happening all throughout the year. Your biggest name, if they are doing a concert tour of the US, it is almost a guarantee they're going to be stopping in Phoenix. And Scottsdale obviously has just about everything you can imagine to do. It's really known for its nightlife. Obviously all the best shopping, the best restaurants, so much entertainment is in Scottsdale. And so I really am surprised by how much there is to do in Phoenix. So it's not like I felt like it was a big step down coming from California to Phoenix. It definitely has felt like, to me, almost an upgrade because of how close everything is. That's a huge plus, is that you don't have to drive an hour and a half on a packed freeway to get 20 miles. Everything, it feels like, is within a 30-minute drive in the Phoenix area. No matter where you live, as long as you're in the somewhat central greater Phoenix area, it's going to be about a 30-minute drive to all the main things to do, including Scottsdale or downtown Phoenix or Tempe or a sporting event. All that stuff is within range of each other, where you could go to just about everything in the Phoenix area, no matter where you live, and you could easily just make it a night trip. Another thing is that the people just seem to be better here. This isn't a quantitative, I can't explain this to you. This has been my experience, and maybe I'm just lucky and interact with better people, but even just people in grocery stores or waiting in line for something, it just seems to be a more friendly environment. I drive around neighborhoods and people are waving to me and I don't even know them, or people are smiling at me. Things like that I'm just surprised by, and obviously I can't prove this, or I can't say that it's an absolute fact, but I have just noticed that it overall seems to be a more friendly environment in Phoenix, where just in California it's a little bit more of a head down, go to your work, come back, don't talk to anyone, and go to bed at night. Like that just almost felt like the way in California. So I just had a little bit different experience in Phoenix, just in strangers that I've interacted with, and obviously people I've met and become friends with. Obviously I like them as well. So overall I've been surprised at, I guess, the genuineness of the people I've met here in Phoenix. A few things I wish I knew. Now, Southern California is known for its expensive housing, and they have tons of amazing places to live. And in Phoenix, obviously, we have some amazing neighborhoods as well. But what I wish I knew, I guess, is the different areas across Phoenix. And I have videos about this. A good video would be like kind of the best surrounding cities of Phoenix, because yes, Phoenix is the central city. It's a little bit like Los Angeles. There's a huge one central city, and then there's the greater LA area. Well, there's the greater Phoenix area as well. And there's some really great cities that are almost more popular for people to move to from out of state than Phoenix itself. Places like Chandler and Gilbert, and obviously Scottsdale's huge, but then also Peoria and Surprise are huge places as well that are really great areas. And when I say great, I'm mostly meaning that it is a low crime area and seems to be set up for people to enjoy the suburbs, more of a family friendly environment where they have parks in the neighborhood, they have sidewalks, they have good community events, overall a place that people are wanting to live in. And so I've been surprised at how many different places there are like that, and I wish I knew which ones were which. So obviously if you're looking into that, you can either give me a call, my email and number on the screen, or just check out one of my videos about kind of best surrounding areas in Phoenix. And then second, I wish I kind of learned more about how to use the roads in Phoenix. Even in my first year living here, it was just such an unspoken language that I had no idea what people are talking about. Once you live here for a few years, it's pretty easy to pick up on. But all of our roads are on a grid system, so it's actually pretty easy to learn. If you just look on a map, you can find Central Avenue, and if you go east of there, it is going to be numbered streets. So you'll find like 20th Street or 30th Street. It'll go all the way to 180th Street. And if you go west of Central, it's going to be numbered avenues. So you'll find 20th Avenue. And so sometimes people will say 20th and you don't know if it's 20th Ave or street, and that is a big difference because those could be 10 miles apart. And then also the other thing that you should learn is the main types of road names. So you'll find Bell Road is a huge one, Camelback Road, Dunlap, different ones like that. Once you start to learn those and memorize where those are on a map, you can get a really good idea of where someone is just by them saying, hey, I live off 35th Ave in Bell. You'll know that's in the West Valley and just under the 101. The freeways are pretty easy to learn. We really only have about 4 or 5 main freeways here in the Phoenix area, so you look on a map, you'll learn those pretty quickly. But understanding the roads is great because that's almost how people talk here in Phoenix. Oh, we're going to meet right here. It's on 35th Ave and Bell, and you should kind of get an idea, okay, that's probably a 20-minute drive for me or whatever. You know, it's a system that people use here a lot in Phoenix that's helpful to know. It's not like you have to memorize it before you get here, but I just wish I kind of spent more time learning it until it took me like 3 or 4 years to really understand, oh, that's where everything is, or that's where this is. And usually the street names are the harder ones because you do have to actually memorize the street names, whereas the numbers pretty easy to pick up on. If someone says they live on 150th Street, you know that's really far East Valley. So almost the street name doesn't matter. Or 150th Ave, really far West Valley. So anyways, I do wish I picked up on the streets a little bit quicker, and that was kind of a quick synopsis of how you can learn them a little bit better. So anyways, that's kind of been my experience moving from California to Arizona. I will say I have no regrets at all. I have absolutely loved living here, and I really don't have any plans of turning back to California, especially as I see things get more and more heated politically there and less affordable to live in California. That is definitely making me have no regrets of living in Arizona, and I have loved it. And if you're thinking of making that move from California to Arizona like myself, my email number on the screen. I am a realtor here in the area, and I work with people relocating all the time. That's over half my business is relocations from out of state to Phoenix. So if you're wanting help, I would love to help you out. Again, my phone and email on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos about living in Phoenix.